Hey, how we doing, world? I accidentally clicked off my own video. This video is supposed to be called The Attorney Process, and when I was making it, I got kind of like heavy fingers, and I clicked off my own video. It's pretty smooth. So this video will be called The Attorney Process. How does it work with the attorneys? Now, attorneys are very, very great in this business, very powerful and essential tool that I do use in facilitating paperwork and making sure that everybody's protected in the process. Okay, so how the attorney process will work is it's pretty much the same way every single time I deal with a buyer and a seller. So if you got to this point and you're watching this video, it's because I have expressed interest in your property. I do believe it has an ability to be marketed and to be sold by a very qualified buyer. So the process of this is I'll go ahead and send you a contract. It's the Florida Bar Real Estate Association form, the FUBAR. Probably added too many words in that, but you understand. It's pretty much the Florida WB11 that we use back in Wisconsin. It's just it's something that you probably use to buy your house, right? Just the Florida Bar Association of Realtors form. And it's attorney approved and it's state approved, and I use that to kind of get the ball rolling. Usually I do 30 to 60 days, and that's just go ahead and get it signed. Put your address. Put all the information you think you need on there, and then at the bottom we sign lease purchase, and then we go ahead and send that to the attorney, and what the attorney will then do is draw up a lease purchase contract. Now, how I like to do my lease purchases typically is that we have a start date, we have an end date, and at the end date, the buyer is at full responsibility at all efforts that he has in his disposal to go ahead and get finance for the property. And this is real powerful as well, because I like to deal with people that know what they want and they're going to stick to what they want. They put down a non-refundable down payment, and they're happy at the end of the term that they will go ahead and get the house financed. That way you're not dealing with any regrets, you're not dealing with any tire kickers, anyone that's going to drop money and just leave. I know a lot of sellers, especially such as yourself, you just want out of the property. That's understood. So the last thing you want is somebody coming in, you're trusting them, and then they leave, after a year or two, or however long it takes, they just leave. And this is why it's just so powerful, because I like to have guarantees in life. I'm kind of an extreme person. I make sure that whatever I do set out for, it's concrete, whether it's friendships, relationships, or business. I'm just kind of I'm not really too much of a 1 foot in, 1 foot out guy. And I expect the same for my business as well. I expect the same for my sellers and buyers. I believe that in life, that if you truly want to commit to something, whatever it is, love, friendships, whatever, you have to be 100% in. And that's why I structure these deals like that, because I don't want any backlash of a buyer, coming in and then leaving. I think it's only right that if somebody chooses to buy a house, it's sort of just like, well, with the bank. If somebody decides that, they buy a house, they put down a down payment, and they want to walk away from the house, well, they have an option of not paying for the house and getting it foreclosed on, but to just be able to walk away and just no penalty, that's just not reality. The bank's not going to allow that. If you stop making the payment, and I just don't want to live here anymore. The bank is okay, well, we can't force you to stay in the house, but you're going to get penalized. So I hold my buyer to the same standard, with the lease purchase at the end of the term, that they do it, go ahead and get financed. Because in life, you should be held 100% accountable for what you do and what your decisions are. So, we get the process facilitated, with the attorney. And how that'll work is you'll essentially be getting, selling the house to me at first. And it sounds a little strange, but let me explain. So how it's going to work is the attorney will actually draft up paperwork, with me as the buyer, Veteran Home Realty, DC Equity LLC, and you as the seller, John Doe. And they'll contract between me and you. Then what will happen is when I find a buyer, I will essentially be signing the same contract that me and you have with the new buyer. And what it means to assign is essentially, you're taking the same terms, or you're taking terms and then you're applying different terms to another buyer. So pretty much how that would work, let's say, is say your house is worth $450,000. Say that you're willing to let it go for $425,000. So you get into an agreement with Veteran Home Realty for $425,000. Then I go ahead and I find a buyer, that would be willing to pay $450,000. Yeah, that's a guy trying to get in his own car. Don't worry, it's a nice day outside. So I'll find a buyer that's willing to pay $450,000. Say you want $10,000 down and you want $2,500 a month. So that's when I would come in and I would make sure that I get you your bottom dollar. And what I would do with the new buyer is I would definitely tack on the $10,000 in addition to what I believe I can get for it. So I make sure to get you your purchase price and get you your bottom dollar for a down payment, and then I add whatever I need. So then I take, let's say I was able to get $20,000, for a down payment. I would essentially give you, the seller, $10,000, Veteran Home Realty $10,000, and then I would take the same terms of the monthly payment of $2,500 a month, and then I would assign that to the buyer. So now the buyer has the same terms that you agree on with me. You see how that works? Okay, so that's the process of how we'd be dealing with the attorney, and then the attorney would definitely facilitate the paperwork and then distribute funds between all parties. Have the start date, have an end date, the deposit money, the escrow, the paperwork, and it's relatively a painless process. And I will definitely leave a link here for my attorney, Faith Hope Richards. She's here in Florida. And the thing about lease purchases and rent to owns is that you can do them remotely because you're not exchanging any title. So that's really key and really important. And that's a great thing as well, is because it kind of gives you, the seller, leverage that if the buyer is going to do anything, it's tougher if you do like a land contract or you do a deed contract for deed, is because you go ahead and you deed the buyer the title. So now they're actually the homeowner before they actually pay you off. So if something was to go wrong, now it's tougher to get them out of the property because you've essentially given them home ownership. So now, in order to get them out of the property, you have to foreclose on them just like a bank. But rent-to-owns with lease purchases, there's no title being given to anybody, to the buyer at all. So you can close on them, or you can evict them just like a landlord would, essentially. But it doesn't really go to this point with higher end people, like I said. So yeah, that's pretty much the process. Like I said, it's relatively painless, and it's mostly just about getting the paperwork facilitated and making sure that all the contracts are in place, and you have a closing date to make sure that all parties are having their signatures signed, and it pretty much goes from there, and everybody's happy. This is Devontae from Veteran Home Realty. You can give me an email at veteranhomerealty@yahoo or at gmail.com. Thank you and have a blessed day.